You know, it's really not that bad once you clean it up in here. Hey guys, welcome back. I just wanted to give a quick update on the status of some of the projects I've been working on, some updates I've made here inside the garage, and I know it's been a while since I've put up a video about the Nighthawk, wherever it may be. It's over there. You guys just can't see it. But as we are in the middle of this kind of pandemic, COVID-19 thing going on, I've spent a lot of time out here in the garage, not really working on projects, but doing a lot of organizing and cleaning. I'll cut to a couple videos here of just what the garage used to look like. I mean, I used to have boxes underneath this back bench that were just stacked high, stuff from my parents' house that they were trying to give me because obviously I don't want all my stuff over there. I had this one table over here was so far out into this garage that you can actually see I've got the motorcycle up here, the Suzuki. I have not been able to get this motorcycle past about here in, I want to say, like over a year and a half. It's been a very long time that the back part of the garage has just been storage and buildup of a bunch of crap that I've accumulated over time. So what I did was it's kind of funny because when you clean projects in areas like this, you kind of have to make one area dirty so that you can clean one area up and then move everything around. But anyway, so in the back of the garage, I built a kind of like a two-tiered shelf where there's a space on the left where there's a little bit extra height for if I want to put something tall underneath there. But after cleaning out all those boxes and getting everything out of here, that made organization a lot better over there. I got some things up off the ground that I had wanted to for some time. I have an old oscilloscope that was just resting on the floor. I also finally, in moving all that stuff around under that bench, I finally got this table to go over into the actual corner so it's not sticking halfway out into the garage, which was a fantastic thing to do. As you'll notice back here, I've still got some boxes of old Ram and Caprice parts that I'm trying to get to storage eventually. Obviously right now I don't want to go out and go get some storage boxes because I'm trying to limit the amount of time I'm outside. But at some point those will go into a storage unit. They're kind of like things that they're nice to keep. So for instance, I've got like replacement trim pieces, some window motors and stuff that I had taken from other doors. And they're good to have and keep, but I don't need them in here in the garage right now. So like I said, over the past 4 or 5 days, I've been doing a lot of cleaning and a lot of getting rid of junk. For some of the other projects, I just got some notes over here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. So for the other projects that I've been working on in the meantime, on the truck, I finally finished coating and installing the remote start that I have inside the truck. It works up to about 40 or 50 feet. It's not terribly long distance. The Caprice actually has an amateur radio handheld inside the truck that I dial in some numbers and it remote starts. But for the Ram, because I had put in a keyless entry system, I said, well, why don't I just use the trunk release? That way I don't have to do all this DTMF decoding and constantly swap out batteries for the radio. And it's been nice, but since the truck is parked around the corner, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So finally got that installed. It's great for in the winter when it's cold. I have been working a little bit on the rear wobble of the truck, and I took a bunch of kind of action cam video footage up underneath the bottom of the truck because I was trying to figure out if the suspension was loose, if the bed wasn't, torqued down, if anything was bobbling all over the place. I actually lost the camera in a couple incidents when it just fell off the mount and fell onto in the middle of a public road. So that was a little bit scary. But I got the camera back. That's all good. What it is looking like it turned out to be, when we went through, like, is the axle bent, is the drive shaft not balanced properly, all these different things. And what it wound up being was, I think the tire wheels, or the wheels that mount to the lugs on this truck either are the wrong size or just have been warped over time, who knows. But it took jacking up the back of the car and just letting the tires spin to realize that one of the tires was not mounted correctly. And even switching the tire around to the other side and going back and forth was not solving the issue. but we realized that as we were tightening it down, the wheel would move on those lugs, and we said, oh, we're not mounting it centered properly. So at some point I may have to get new wheels for those tires, but overall, glad we at least narrowed down what that problem is, and we just have to be really careful when putting it all back together. Onto the, oh well, I can't forget this. This is probably my favorite upgrade that I've done to the truck. I put in a remote electronic exhaust cutout, and because the exhaust headers come together at a point, it's kind of got that natural crossover, and it makes this great rumbling sound when you're driving. And I love that it's a remote electronic button, so I can just, if I'm, it's early in the morning, I can close it. That way I'm not disturbing the neighbors. But when I get out on the road, if I want to feel like a cool kid for about 15 seconds, I can just open it, and it just sounds great. It sounds like a tank, basically. So then the last thing that I've done really recently has been on the Caprice, I have had a not grinding sound, but a bearing wearing kind of sound coming from the back end, and we had tried things like replacing the outer bearings for the axles. We had tried flushing the differential fluid. We did a whole bunch of different stuff. And after rebuilding the differential on the Ram, we said, well, hey, we've done this once now. Why don't we tackle it on the Caprice? Because we were pretty sure that's what the problem was. And looking at these pictures I'll throw up here, it turned out to be the carrier bearing and journal on the passenger side that had torn itself up. Now, if you've never taken apart a differential, if you grab the carrier and try and rotate it, you should get, I think it's like 5 to 8 thousandths of play. So if you put like a micrometer on the bottom of a tooth and try and wiggle it, you should get some play out of it. Well, mine was extremely tight, and what that meant was the entire carrier was shifted over to the right. So we're thinking that if this was ever serviced by the police department at any time, they may have just used the existing shims or flipped them around and had the adjustment and preset and load all messed up. So now driving around, the Caprice is a lot quieter, and I'm starting to hear other noises, like I hear an exhaust leak up front, or I may hear some jingling sounds up underneath the engine bay. And so it's great in that when you get a car quiet, you can hear all these other sounds, and then you're like, oh crap, now I hear all these other sounds. So anyway, that's all the real updates I have for you right now. I just wanted to give a brief kind of garage and project update. Like I said, not really much going on with the Nighthawk right now, but thankfully now that I have the garage in a much more manageable state, I should be able to, work on this bench and keep projects off on the side over here. So next steps are probably working on the drive shaft and differential for the Honda, polishing up some parts, finishing the painting on the frame so I can finally get rid of the other 2 frames that I have. Little things like that. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed the brief update video, and hope to see you guys again soon. See you later.